At first, being there for everyone feels like strength, but over time, it slowly starts taking something away from you. You answer every call, reply to every message, show up even when you're tired, and somewhere inside, it feels right, like you're doing what a good person should do. But there's a quiet shift that happens, almost invisible. You don't notice it in one day. It builds slowly, and one day, you wake up feeling drained, unseen, and strangely disconnected from yourself, even though you've been there for everyone else. The truth is, always being available isn't just kindness. It has a hidden psychological cost. It shapes how your mind sees your worth, how your emotions respond to others, and how your identity slowly bends around people's expectations. You don't lose everything at once. You lose parts of yourself, one by one. The first thing you lose is your sense of self. When you're always available, your mind begins to organize itself around others instead of around you. Your choices stop coming from what you truly want and start coming from what others need. Deep inside, your subconscious starts to believe that your role is to serve, not to exist as your own person. And slowly, you forget what you like, what you need, and even what you feel. You become so used to adjusting that your identity becomes flexible, almost invisible. Philosophically, this is where individuality starts to fade. You are no longer living as a person with your own center, but as someone orbiting around others. And the painful part is, you don't even realize it's happening until you feel lost in your own life. The second thing you lose is your emotional energy. Being there for others constantly means you are always giving, always listening, always absorbing. Your mind doesn't get the space to process your own emotions because it's busy holding space for everyone else. Psychologically, this creates an imbalance. Your emotional system becomes overloaded, but since you're used to ignoring your own needs, you don't give yourself permission to rest. Over time, this turns into quiet exhaustion, not the kind you can fix with sleep, but the kind that sits deep inside your chest. From a philosophical point of view, energy is your life force. When you give it away without limits, you're slowly emptying the very thing that makes you feel alive. And that's why you start feeling numb. Not because you don't care, but because you've cared too much for too long without caring for yourself. The third thing you lose is your boundaries. At first, saying yes feels natural. You don't want to disappoint anyone. But your subconscious starts associating approval with safety. You begin to believe that being liked means being accepted, and being accepted means being secure. So you avoid saying no. You stretch yourself even when it hurts. Over time, your mind stops recognizing where you end and others begin. Boundaries are not just actions, they are a reflection of self-respect. And when they disappear, so does your sense of protection. Philosophically, boundaries define your existence as an individual. Without them, you are open to being shaped by everyone else's needs, and that's why you often feel overwhelmed, even by small requests. Because deep down, you know you've lost the ability to protect your own space. The fourth thing you lose is your self-worth. When you are always available, your mind starts linking your value to how useful you are. You begin to feel important only when someone needs you. This creates a dangerous pattern inside your subconscious. You start seeking validation through giving, not through simply being. And when no one reaches out or when someone doesn't appreciate your effort, it hurts more than it should. Because your worth feels tied to their response. Philosophically, this shifts your identity from being to doing. You stop seeing yourself as inherently valuable and start seeing yourself as valuable only when you are needed. And this is where the quiet pain begins, because no matter how much you give, it never feels like enough. The fifth thing you lose is your inner peace. When you are always available, your mind is constantly alert. You're always waiting for the next message, the next call, the next situation where someone might need you. This creates a subtle anxiety that lives in the background of your life. Your thoughts are not your own anymore. They are shaped by anticipation. Psychologically, this keeps your nervous system in a state of tension. You can't fully relax because part of you is always on. From a philosophical perspective, Peace comes from being rooted in yourself, not scattered across others. And when your attention is always outside, you lose that grounding. That's why even in quiet moments, you don't feel calm. You feel restless, like something is missing, even when everything seems fine. The sixth thing you lose is your authenticity. When you're constantly adjusting to others, you start filtering yourself without even realizing it. You say what they want to hear. You act in ways that keep things smooth, and you hide parts of yourself that might create discomfort. Your subconscious learns that being your full self is risky because it might lead to rejection. So it creates a version of you that is easier to accept, but that version isn't real. Philosophically, authenticity is about living in alignment with your true self. And when you lose that, you start feeling disconnected, not just from others, but from yourself. That's why sometimes, even in a room full of people, you feel alone. Because the person they are connecting with isn't fully you. The seventh thing you lose is the ability to receive. When you are always the one giving, your mind becomes unfamiliar with receiving. It feels uncomfortable, almost undeserved. You downplay your needs, you hesitate to ask for help, and when someone offers support, you don't fully accept it. Psychologically, this comes from a deep belief that your role is to give, not to take. And over time, this creates an imbalance in your relationships. You become the one people rely on, but not the one they truly see. Philosophically, life is meant to be a flow, not a one-sided exchange. When you block your ability to receive, you break that balance. And that's why you often feel unseen, because you've never allowed yourself to be visible in your own needs. And the hardest part about all of this is, it doesn't look like something is wrong. From the outside, you look kind, reliable, strong. But inside, something feels off. Something feels missing. The truth is, being there for others is not the problem. Losing yourself in the process is. There is a quiet kind of strength in stepping back, in saying no without guilt, in choosing yourself without needing permission. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring about yourself too. Because self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't need to prove anything. It's a quiet decision you make, to not abandon yourself just to be accepted by others. And maybe that's the realization that changes everything. You don't have to disappear to be loved.